This is an exercise that's going to develop the strength in your handstand, and the idea is that it's actually technically harder than doing the handstand itself, but if you can do this in a very specific way, then the handstand strength component should be no problem for you. There's a couple details you have to keep in mind when you're performing the exercise. The main one is this. You're gonna use the wall. If you let your shoulders drop behind your hands this way, it means you're leaning weight onto the wall or whatever you have as a wall. And this means you're not actually holding up your own handstand. This means you're relying on the wall for external support. And if the goal is to hold it by yourself without the wall, this is not the way you want to do it. So make sure at any point in the exercise, you always have a vertical line from your hand. So not this, but this. Really, really important. Second important thing, and you're just going to find this out anyway, if your elbows are bent, it's going to make the movement feel a lot heavier. So really try to push through the shoulders, push through the elbows, keep a solid base of support. Third thing, not as important, but it's good to keep in mind, is try to minimize the amount of rotation in the body. Try to keep the movement more pure from side to side. So using a wall, you go up as high as you're comfortable, so you don't have to necessarily go all the way to the wall, but we go up and down, walking. And then as you walk, what I want to see is that you can stay for a couple seconds on each hand. So we start in a push-up position. Once again, never leaning the shoulders behind. I can't stress that enough. Always shoulders on top of the hands. And very slowly, very gently, very deliberately, no speed. We walk the feet up the wall, we get the hips up, and then we walk the hands in. So again, what we're looking for is you can spend, you don't have to do this, of course, but you can if you want to. You spend time on each hand, very solid, very slow, very gentle. Notice I'm talking, which means I can breathe. So if you're holding your breath, it won't be a good exercise for you. And then when you feel that you're at your limit, you just hold, stay there, arms straight, and same idea on the way down. The wall is a bit more comfortable here than the stall bars, but whatever you have, walking down, I spend time on each hand. Spend time on each hand. Coming down with control. So with this exercise, there's no speed, there's no momentum. I'm very carefully moving from one hand to the other. So once again, elbows straight, elbows bent. This is gonna feel way, way, way heavier, especially when you switch to one side. If your arms are too wide, it's also gonna feel much heavier, so you generally want to stay shoulder width. The rotation, as I mentioned, not as big of a deal, but if you want to move on later to one-arm handstand work, you want to be careful of the hips moving side to side and not rotating. Another thing really important for this one is not dropping in the shoulder or the back. So sometimes when people switch to the hand, they let their shoulders sink like this. So you want to make sure to keep a really good push so that the movement is smooth as opposed to sinking down. Again, go as high as you're comfortable with, go slow. Don't do this to failure, because if your arms give out and you still have to come down, you may not come down how you want. So again, can't stress enough going slow, using control. One more detail, a very common mistake people make also, is when they shift to one side, they let their midsection go. So it's not so much that you have to squeeze your abs like you're bracing a punch, but you do want to keep this position, whatever you want to call it, hollow, posterior tilt. You don't want to start doing this kind of movement through the handstand walks. So I'll show you what that looks like. Sinking from the back, yeah? Something like this. So you want to keep everything solid, smooth transition from hand to hand. Hold, hang out, get comfortable, make sure you can breathe, very important. Make sure you know where your wall is. Slowly come out the same way you came up. Come down, and then give it a try. Let me know how it goes. Have fun. Handstand walking up the wall.